Can't you just look the other way this week, Joe? Come on, we can sort it out, right? It's not
Je suis allé trop loin.
my call, Baron. You pay one way or another. Please, Joe.
Non, ça va pas là.
We even used to be neighbours, for Christ's sake. I prefer not to give you another beating, Baron.
Là.
Hello, young man. I'm Dr. Reed, and I would like to ask you a few questions. May I enter, please?
Sorry, no, sir. My father does not like people entering our house, you see.
Your father is worried about you, boy. He asked me to look for you.
So my father actually worries about me then? Okay then. Come on in. I'm Harry, by the way. Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
So, may I ask you a few questions?
I'm not bothered. What could be worse?
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
Yes, I know her. She came here to examine me when I was very sick. She said I should go out more.
How do you feel?
I'm fine. I mean, it's not easy every day, but I'm fine. I'm just tired of being sick all the time. If only I could be tough like... Well, you know.
Speaking of which, what can you tell me about your father?
My father is an idiot who makes idiot things. That's all I have to say.
Forgive my bluntness, young man, but you don't seem happy living in Whitechapel.
Why should I? I never wanted to come here in the first place. It was my father's decision. And look around you. Does this look like a nice place to live?
Ah.
I'm sure your father did his best when he found this house. Times are tough for everyone, young man.
That's exactly what my father says. Harry, you should be grateful for what you've got. But I wasn't even consulted when we moved here.
If life here is so terrible for you, why don't you just leave this place? Have you ever spoken to your father about it?
I don't go outside. It terrifies me so. I went outside once without my father noticing and I saw terrible things. Bloody, frightening things.
So that's why you stay at home all day? For fear of the epidemic?
I'm not afraid of disease or death, Dr. Reed. It's the living I'm afraid of.
Ah, d'accord. Bon, ben là, j'ai tout eu.
Do you need any medical help, young man?
Yes, I do. I feel so tired. I don't know if it's the epidemic, but everything seems so hard.
You'll feel better with this. But you need to get a grip, young man. Medication alone won't cure melancholia.
I'm not sure I'm happy with the idea of living long in a world like this. But I thank you for your concern, sir.
Après le médicament, ça me donne rien de plus, d'accord. Ah, comme ça, au moins, on le sait.
Goodbye, young man. Take care of yourself.
Je vais me garder un
Even
médicament.
my
en plus.
dreams are soaked with gloom.
D'accord. Tu me laisses passer, s'il te plaît? C'est cool.
Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
Ça te dérange pas, je suis en train de fouiller chez toi. Hein. C'est sympa chez vous.
It's locked, all right.
Ouais.
Is there only pain and suffering?
Merci beaucoup. Je rentre, je fouille toute la baraque. Attends, non, il y a une porte là. Attends, il y a une porte, je vais vérifier. Non, elle n'est pas accessible. Où te fous, tout. Allez, je me casse. Bon, il est où mon refuge par contre? Parce que là, je sais toujours pas où il est. Ah, je m'éloigne encore plus. Là, je m'éloigne encore plus. Qu'est-ce qu'il y prend? Ah, c'est l'église. Ok. Donc là, j'ai un mal de chien à me repérer. Là, on est bon. Non, oui, mais non. Là, ici. Ah non, ça c'est la quête, ça. Je ne vais pas tout de suite aller à la quête. Je veux d'abord aller à mon refuge. Là.
When science fails you, this elixir will give you faith again.
Ah là, normalement, c'est là. Ouais.
Its effectiveness has been proven by many. Even flu is no match for the swan reporter.
C'est là. C'est là mon refuge. Décidément, c'est une vraie quête en moi. Alors, crafting. Pneumonie, j'ai pas ce qu'il faut. Bronchite. Rhume. Fatigue. Anémie. Celui-ci, il en faut 15. On va faire sur celui-ci, par contre, ouais, on en a pas. Donc, c'est le potassium qu'il faudrait. Le reste qu'elle propose. Alors, qu'est-ce que je peux me prendre en compétence? J'ai que 600. Alors, 600 ici, forcément. C'est des trucs où j'ai pas 600, d'accord? C'est ça, ouais, mais s'il vous plaît. Ça, c'est pareil, c'est 1000, 2000. C'est pareil. Tactique. Alors, endurance par combat en marchant. Par seconde en marchant. Ouais. Alors, science morsure, endurance. Et on invente. C'est l'endurance, ça coûte un peu quand même. Hein. À chaque fois, j'oublie de confirmer. Voilà, on va faire dodo. Et comme ça, on se régénère un petit peu. Voilà, voilà, voilà. L'aventure continue. Donc là, on va redescendre. Déjà, on va faire ça. Histoire de. Par là, c'est le cours.
All your problems. As long as you have the money.
Alors, potassium, on avait dit.
Good evening, my dear colleague.
Alors, faisons
I'd
affaire.
like to see what kind of medicine you're selling.
Potassium, alors 18. Ah ouais, pas donné. Ok.
What do you want? Leave me alone.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I'm looking for Nurse Dorothy Crane.
There is no Dorothy Crane here. Now goodbye.
I'm afraid this medical leaflet says the opposite, sir.
Really? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to close this door right now. Go bother someone else, Mr. Doctor.
To enter that house, I must discover who this man really is. Maybe I could start by observing what he's up to.
Ce qu'il mijote. Il a une bronchite, justement. Elle a toujours du sang
Strange
partout.
man was at the door with a pass for our medical facility. I refused him entry.
Darius, how could you know he didn't need our help?
His clothes were too finely tailored to be from Whitechapel.
Perhaps just a friend of that stray poet who is always about.
Richard Nethercott? No, not of the same cloth, this man. I suspect some machination from that journalist.
Clayton Darby. Is he still asking questions?
Yes. I saw him drifting around St. Mary's Church. I swear he is tracking me just downwind.
L'église.
I must talk to that journalist or the poet. They must know about Darius. Nearby the church they just mentioned.
D'accord. Église. Où est-ce que c'était l'église? Là-bas, ils ont l'air de me dire. Ça, c'est encore le... Allez hop. Ah, je l'avais pas vu celui-là. Ah, je me suis fait avoir. Je pensais pas qu'il y en avait deux. Ok. Ouais, on va peut-être pas y aller, hein. Parce que les esclaves, c'est peut-être pas la peine. On va passer par là.
You pay one way or another. Please, Joe. How long have we known each other? We even used to be neighbours, for Christ's sake. I'd prefer not to give you another
Tout,
beating,
barrette,
Baron.
ok. C'est pas le que je cherche.
Imprisoned by your daily routine.
Forgive my
Allez.
interruption.
Do not
Maître.
apologize, my son. Father Tobias Whitaker is always happy to teach mortals about the incoming Armageddon.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I just have a few questions.
A scientist? You are much more lost than I thought, my son.
Ah, c'est encore plus perdu que je le pensais.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences, and most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Well, I suppose I can spare a few minutes listening to your so-called truth.
As a doctor, you must be aware of the decimating epidemic. But let me tell you that this so-called Spanish flu is just the beginning of the end.
What do you mean?
The beast is finally revealing itself, corrupting the flesh and the heart of men. With my own eyes I have seen them, those minions from the abyss.
Really? And what would be your answer to this biblical threat?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No.
What is left
La
then?
foi.
Cleansing fire.
On peut y bah voyons.
Tell me, Tobias, what exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing of this city?
God will recognize his own. More than once this city has risen from the ashes, hardened
Ah, c'est un incendiaire lui.
by the flames.
Fire is just the instinctive answer of a caveman facing something he does not understand. This is the 20th century.
Your lack of faith is predictable. But my task is to convince rational minds like yours to see the light. This is God's will.
You're mad and dangerous.
J'ai envie de le bouffer.
You're nothing but a soulless butcher. A small-time Torquemada. The Savonarola of Whitechapel.
My son, if you think salvation is a free gift, go listen to the lies of that pompous fool, Joseph.
Joseph, a fool.
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's Church. While he continues preaching his fraudulent redemption, more and more people die in the streets.
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of...
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? Blinded by science as I...
But you are seeking a...
I am. But the answers I seek are based on facts, not superstition.
Ok.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the Pembroke Hospital? I'd like to know more about her.
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I especially abhor that Nurse Crane you mentioned.
So, you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane more than other nurses?
Before coming to London, she was a member of the communist resistance in her country. That's what happens when you let a woman get involved in politics.
Oh la vache.
Have you any friends? Any family left in these terrible times?
No. But I have a disciple I see as my son. He is so devoted. I sent him to preach the good word in the heart of this corrupted city.
Where did you send him?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery, where the pestilence and evil grows night after night.
You sent him on some preaching crusade during the epidemic.
As a true believer, Samuel will fear no evil while he walks through the valley of the shadow of death.
Ah, voyons.
I have had enough for tonight. Goodbye.
I'm cheap and I'm clean, I promise.
Ok. Je cherche Richard et Clayton. Faire. Hop. Bon, j'ai pas eu le temps de boire du sang. Ok. Ok. Par contre, il y a un cadavre. D'accord. Bah oui, c'est la quarantaine. Okay. Là, c'est dans le cimetière. Il y en a un qui va se faire bouffer.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions.
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that which the eyes cannot see.
Really? Are you an artist of some kind?
I'm a poet, sir. Richard Nethercott, at your service.
Okay.
May I ask what you're doing at this hour of night, sir? Do you live here?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a quiet walk.
Oui,
Though
oh.
night talks are always
Oui, je fais une
preferable, if
petite
you ask
balade
me,
nocturne. Mais...
especially with strangers.
But are you not afraid of the epidemic?
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of the flu.
If you say so. But as a physician in a time of epidemic, I must caution you to avoid unnecessary exposure, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of truth has to go boldly where the weak dare not.
What are your thoughts on the terrible situation in this city?
Terrible, you say? No. Of course, the death of so many innocents is a tragedy. But the scourge has not been all bad for the city. Oh, no, sir.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet nowhere to be found. And now, listen to this oddly peaceful silence.
Ouais.
Yes. The enjoyable silence of the grave. You have a unique perspective on the situation, I must admit.
Most people fail to understand my perspective. I don't blame them. But how could I call myself a poet if I veiled my feelings?
Are you aware that your life could be in danger in this part of town?
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat of the city. I had to come, see it for myself, alone.
If some misfortune came upon you, who would be here to help you?
Well, you for a start, my dear doctor.
I understand your need for solitude, but it's not safe around here.
I don't care. I don't have many friends, Doctor, and my family despises me.
Ah, d'accord.
Tell me, Mr. Nethercott, why seek inspiration in Whitechapel?
The place is not beautiful per se, but how to explain it? Stirring and challenging.
Stimulant.
Do you not think it a little morbid?
On the contrary, sir. Whitechapel is full of life, full of beauty. Just like my dear muse, the wonderful Camellia.
What can you tell me about Camellia?
Not much. And that's the beauty of it. She can't speak, you know. She's a locked mystery who exhales kindness and sweetness.
D'accord.
And have you ever tried to learn more about her? Where she lives? How she survives? Whom she may know?
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma. Reality can be so dull, don't you think?
Perhaps you're just afraid to find out the truth about your muse.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me. But will she still be my wild flower of Whitechapel if she moves uptown?
In what way, exactly?
The struggle by gaslight, the barren smiles and the arid hunger under the rain.
If you say so.
Such vibrant antagonism and vivid paradox, the stripped humanity raged across each street.
Vivid, of course, yes. And what about the poignant distress?
Oh yes, the poignant distress. You see what I mean, don't you? That's what I want to write about, and that's what Whitechapel is made of.
May I ask you a few questions about the district?
Extraordinary part of town, is it not? I'll be glad to help you, if I can.
I'm looking for Dorothy Crane, a nurse who lives in this vicinity.
Dorothy Crane. Oh, I love the name. The Crane of Whitechapel. Sounds very mysterious. But, sorry, no, never heard of her.
What can you tell me about an old man called Darius?
Darius Petrescu? Yes, I know him. At first, I thought he was only a small publisher. I invited him to publish my work, but his reaction was pretty clear.
Not interested in your talent?
Darius is an old political activist who takes delight in printing tracts and lampoons. Those communist activities only require mediocre writing skills.
Bon, là j'ai tout fait. Là on a tout fait. Ok, c'est bon.
Do you need medical attention, sir?
It may be wise to let you prescribe me something. I don't feel like I should.
I will see you later. I'll leave you
Là,
alone,
donc,
sir.
on va pas trop s'amuser à filer des médocs pour l'instant. Lui, c'est un rhume. Ouais, j'ai rien pour le rhume. Traitement pour la migraine. Traitement pour la fatigue. Migraine, fatigue. Migraine, fatigue. J'ai quelque chose, moi, pour inventaire. Médicaments. Bronchite, j'en ai 2. Ah si, j'avais bronchite. J'ai pas la migraine. J'ai rhume, bronchite, anémie, fatigue, sepsis. Vraiment.